2001 was the first time you brought me out to the States, came to the B-Boy Summit. And Asia, you know, she did so much for the lock-in community back then. And it's incredible that she picked up the sword. So having you involved with Asia One and this lock-in event, so very exciting. Tell us, what have we got ahead of us?
Well, you know, the House of Locking is basically what we're trying to do is open up the venue so people can come and learn about locking again, just to introduce people who don't really know a lot about it. You know, the summits back in the day, we had a lot of locking and stuff. We're going to try to reintroduce it, teach it, go through the introductions, teach a little about the history, and then we're just going to jam later in the day to just open it up for dancing, maybe some circles and stuff. So that's what we're trying to do with this event coming up.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we lost Vix, but what's really exciting for me is I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I want to reintroduce that Richie was one of the main people that got the funk room inside of the B-Boy Summit and Freestyle session. And so he was a big advocate in terms of locking and the funk styles to be reintroduced when B-Boy kind of attacked the scene and became the most popular thing. And so I think people should definitely know that Richie was the one that asked for it, influenced it, and made it happen. And it set the whole thing off until, you know, times today as well. And
it's
Richie was
Richie,
the guy that taught a lot of us, the second generation guys, how to lock when we from the Aerozone. So I think it's important to state those facts. We've all went publicly and said Richie was the guy that had taught a lot of us to lock, like the Alice City Rockers, Dance Connection, groups like that. He was we respect Richie a lot because he was very instrumental in terms of learning. There was, back in the days, there wasn't the access that people have now with classes and videos and YouTube. And so Richie was a valuable resource, and I want to give him his flowers.
Oh, thank you.
yes, likewise, myself included. Richie is the main inspiration for me locking to this day. So like having legends like Richie involved in this is the reason why Vix and myself are coming out from Ohio to just be involved. And yeah, that's really what it's about, is just spreading the love of the locking.
Yeah. Vix, you know, share with it, because recently, the last time I saw you, you came out and trained with Richie. What motivated that situation in terms of wanting, because you're a big B-boy component and top rocking guy, and you wanted to get into locking. So it was almost natural for you to seek out Richie because they'll train. But what got you on that road?
Okay, well, first time I saw Richie was at the B-Boy Summit, 2023.
Okay.
And they did a showcase, locking showcase. Now, I've always been a fan of locking. You know, I started street dancing, breaking in 1997. As soon as I got aware of like popping and locking, like I was a huge fan of it. I just never really connected in a strong anybody who knew how to do it. I did take, you know, a couple of workshops here and nothing really ever, you know, I didn't retain anything until I was DJing at a my local venue on Thursday nights called the Oracle, and we play funk and soul music. And so I was DJing there one night, and it was pretty empty. There was like nobody there, maybe a couple people at the bar. And Stu walks in, and he sits in the back, and he doesn't say a word to me, you know, the whole night. And I'm playing, and it wasn't till the end of the night I'm starting to pack up, and I walk past him to use the restroom, and he starts doing these locking moves when he's sitting down. And he changed his hat too. All of a sudden, he has a locking hat on.
Okay.
And so I'm like, "Yo, bro, are you a locker?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm from London, you know, this and that." And I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing. You know, not every day you run into lockers here in."
Right.
So I bought him a drink, and you know, we had a chat, and you know, we hit it off great. and he started breaking down to me, some of his philosophies about locking and the Valley style, and some of his inspirations, the LA City Rockers, which I had never heard of.
Yeah.
And so chain reaction and just the whole 9 yards. And so I was really interested, and I started to go down the rabbit trail, of doing the history, looking at videos and doing my own research. And sure enough, that the LA City Rockers, the Valley style, is like, it really stood out to me. And the reason why it stood out to me is because I, as a b-boy and as a DJ, I love the 80s era, and I know that it goes back to the 70s and everything,
right?
But that music, that electronic music, the style, the clothes, like everything about the era, I feel like is something that's lost. It's like a forgotten piece of history. And especially with the music, you don't really you rarely hear that kind of music anymore. So I've always been
they sample the music, so it's always stayed there. But I am very biased, but the reason why I'm interested in it is because I'm always obsessed with learning about people's trajectory. Richie, where are you from? Ohio? Where are you originally from in terms of having access to the dance? Because that was a challenge, right?
Talking about me?
Yeah.
I was born in Maryland. My parents are from the Bronx. And so I've kind of been back and forth from New York, my whole life. I lived in New York 2 times, at 2005 and 2010. But like I said, I was born on the countryside in Maryland, and I moved to Ohio in 1997. I was 12 years old, and that's where I began my journey as a b-boy.
Okay. So access would have been like hard. I know that Stu had shared with me, Detroit had a community of lockers. But sometimes it's a big problem from just having access, because when I was a young kid, we didn't have access to the lockers. And so that's when I met Richie. Richie is actually from the East Coast, from New York. So Richie, if you could share just some of your history and what was your access to the dance so that people know.
In New York, I knew nothing about the lockers. I lived in Brooklyn from 1962 to 1978. I left New York and came to California. At that time, popular show was What's Happening, believe it or not, which I used to see rerun on that, doing that dance. And then I used to watch Soul Train, American Bandstand. And then I started to see pieces of locking, but I really didn't know what it was till I saw Chain Reaction for the first time at a club. And they did a show, and their routines were amazing and everything. Then I started to research and watch Soul Train, and then I heard about shows from the lockers. And believe it or not, when I saw the lockers, I wasn't as impressed because they didn't have the great routines and stuff like that. So I wanted to learn it, and there was nowhere to learn it. We didn't have computers. We didn't have dance classes. So I started going down to LA, and that's where I started to see it and practice it and battle people and lose and learn and so and so. And then I just got sparked up and continued to do it ever since. So I think I've been doing it almost 48 years now.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, because we don't really say names, but there was a group that Richie and some of our friends had asked, and they declined and said, no, you got to learn yourself. So Richie had to take it upon himself and muscle through it and learn and get those great shapes and extensions. And I like to share with people because I think it's important. I was a slow learner. And so when I saw the double time Valley style, it was like overwhelming. So Richie was one of those spirits that was kind enough to break things down from people that would go to the Ozone and attend and want to learn. Because back then it was, there wasn't a lot of access. If you didn't know the lockers, or you weren't in Orange County or LA, you had to go to it. So big ups to Richie for sharing the dance with people, and he's still that guy. Share some of your introduction to the Valley style.
Well, I first saw locking via the guys in London who were highly influenced from LA City Rockers. And I met Richie in the year 2000 when he was over in Europe. And the thing that really struck me then and to this day is the way that Richie is a an advertisement for all of locking. So some people might say that he's is a Valley style locker, and certainly, you know, that goes without saying. But when I came out to the summit in 2001, 2, 3, Richie was there, bringing Don, Greg, Fluky, all of the lockers, and has been a proponent of pushing all of locking. So he's most definitely not one who's saying locking needs to be like this and an isolated box. So sorry to be blowing smoke up you too much there, Richie, but thank you for advertising and for pushing locking in its totality.
Yeah, 100%. He was kind of the ambassador. Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah,
I was just
the ambassador.
to talk about it, but yeah, I mean, I have a love for it and a passion for it. It's not a career of mine. It's just a passion. And I want to spread it and I want people to learn it and I love to watch it. And so I continue to teach today. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. And there's always, like, with the funk styles, there's all this division. And, you know, with locking, it was really cool because we know who created it. You know, we give big ups to Don Campbell and the lockers, you know, and for legal reasons, the dance, I guess how do we say it? It used to be, the original style was called the camel lock. And, you know, just to keep history straight, it had everything that tap and jazz and ballet had. It had a common language. It had a system that you could learn from. And so it created an art form. Same thing with the electric boogaloo lockers. You know, they had a neck flex, twist flex. They had all the components that created these dances into a form. Now, where the word salad of people arguing and debating is saying style. Style means, by the dictionary, the manner you do it. So when I met Richie and I started going to the Ozone, they had the double time style, for lack of a better word. And the double time is the and count. And so when I saw these guys like Chain Reaction and other people in the area that I was at, the routines and combinations were incredible. And the lockers loved it. They loved that part of it. So it wasn't the original style, but the manner they did it was different. And what we fell in love with, me as well, was how clean and tight they were and how well they extended, you know. So when we finally met the blockers, we love what you guys do. Let's be clear about that, because we had really good foundation and we were clean and tight. And because we were clean and tight, we were very prolific. So people that Richie taught became professional street dancers. So I want to make that clear. So the dance is a form, art form, because it has everything the other dances do. But the manner you do it is why people call style. And correct me if I'm wrong, Orange County had a style. They were close to the original style. Las Vegas, who were very prolific as they showed, they had a style. And then we guys at the Ozone from the Valley, they had a different style. And there's other styles out there across countries. But just to be clear, when people have these word salads and debate about it, these dances become an art form, but the style people do it is different. So am I correct in that assessment, Richie? Is there any, I mean, they word salad into these debates and it's kind of not important.
You know, that became a debate years ago where people were talking about style and flavor. The dance style we do, the dance we do is locking. Yeah. Everybody locks different. And there are, again, how I can explain is when the lockers created, Don created locking, and then the lockers started creating their own moves, they had these basic foundation moves. When the lockers kind of disappeared and the Valley guys started locking, me and all of you guys, we created different sequences of moves.
Yeah.
So, you know, if the lockers had 26 foundational moves, we added about 15 of them and just increased the vocabulary. That's all. We increased the vocabulary. Some of the moves I do, the lockers never did.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I do all the moves that they do. Yeah. I took that and then added upon it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how I see locking and what I want to do with locking. Right. People like it, great. People don't do it. That's fine. Yeah. There is no right or wrong. It's preference.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy doing? What do you see? For me, and all of you know, you can come and train with me, but I will always tell you to train with other people.
Yeah.
I want you to learn from other people, because if everybody locks like me, what do I want to watch you for?
Yeah.
You know, so again, it's taking different things from other people, what you like, and making it your own. And that's what Don said originally.
Yeah.
Take a chance and make it your own.
Yeah.
I still believe, though, if you don't have the basics, the foundations, and the roots, you're missing the essence of the dance.
Yeah.
That's my opinion about that.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that.
And being a beginner, you know, it was one of those things where I really had to muscle through the foundation. It just didn't come to me like of a lot of our friends. And Richie was really important for that, you know. It's funny because I see Richie, not to egg on him a bit, I see him now teaching these girls and these young people funky heroes and stuff, and he's very prolific. He's very professional. But the Valley, the Valley guys were savage with each other, man. They would go at it. Even Richie, you know, said they used to, like Terry had brought up, they used to get physical with each other. And so when me and Anthony came in, I came in the scene in 1980, you know, one of my ex-girlfriends would see us, you know, going in on each other. And they were so brutal. I don't even know if mamas were off limit. These guys would trash each other, man. And it was so much fun. And some of the girls that I was dating, or my ex-wife, was like, you guys are brutal with each other. And it made me think, because we've been friends for over 40 some years, 46 years, maybe longer for some of the other guys. But what I realized is that your friends talk trash to your face. And they say some of the most amazing things, you know, behind your back. But you know who you're dealing with. And so when I brought out the Czech Republic kids, they were like, Richie's tough. And I was like, nah, bro, that's lightweight. I mean, Anthony would tell me stories of Jazzy and Terry trying to hit each other over with the head. And Richie's rolled around the floor with some of these guys. It was kind of a tough man sport. And as Richie's gotten older, he's softened up a bit, to say the least. Because this guy's like, Richie's kind of gnarly. And I was like, nah, man, that's lightweight. Back in the day, people were brutal. Share with me what I'm talking about, Richie. Am I correct in that assessment?
We could talk about Jazzy and Terry just at the beginning.
Yeah.
They got into popping kind of first. They really wanted to learn popping, and especially me and Terry. So when I was teaching Terry, he would always finish a point but pop. And we would argue, and we would actually get into fist fights in his house because we would argue about that and everything like that. So, you know, but we've been friends that long. That's the thing. Even though we're locking, we've always told the truth, and we've always been friends. We never let business or money or any of that or fame or any of these things get in between our friendships with all of each other. That's just the way we did. So yeah, I was kind of a tyrant when I was younger. I was very
hence the name Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, I was very passionate about it, and I was very hardcore about it. And I wanted everybody to learn it. And if they didn't practice hard, I made them practice harder. We fight, and that's just the way it was. So it was really fun. But I would never change those days for anything.
And he's never changed his theology about the dance. You know, you could say that it's militant, but I remember Gemini and Richie having debates. You know, the stories about them, and they were savage with each other too. You know, you wouldn't think that we were friends, but this is, I guess, the way we love each other, and we've stayed close to the years. And you know, Richie would film things. He was like, you're off, you're a little behind, you're a little ahead. He's like, what do you mean? And Richie would film stuff, and he holds you accountable because he wanted you to learn. And so now people in these next generations, they hold people accountable. Me and Stewie did a podcast with Scrabble, and Scrabble showed some of it. Like, the community is softened up, and you have to be more mindful how you talk to people. But Scrabble recalls the time where he was like, I saw what you did, Scrabble, and that sucked. You need to do better, you know? And it's like, that's how it used to be. As time went on, we have to be mindful of how we speak to each other and maybe become more prolific as educators. But trust me, if these people think that, you know, Richie's tough, it's lightweight compared to what it used to be, man. Because they never really got physical with me and Anthony. But we had it tougher, and the next generation has it easier, and so on and so on. So as we age, we soften up, and we're more mindful how we speak about it. But, you know, Richie was one of those guys that made sure that you understood the disciplines for the better good of yourself, for the better good of locking. Am I right in that assessment, Richie?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it right. And then once, I think Terry said it well in the Valley Style video. He said, you, you, you have to know the rules before you break the rules.
Yeah.
So again, learn the foundation, learn the roots. When you have that, go do what you're going to do after.
Yeah.
You know, if I show you a sequence of moves or a move, you can change it for yourself and make it yours. You see what I mean? That's what locking is about.
Yeah.
Taking things and expanding, evolving it, making it you. And again, it goes back to Don's original philosophy. Take what I do and make it yours.
Yeah.
Still, you have to have the foundational, roots and things to be able to do this dance. When you don't do those things, for me, it's more of a freestyle dance. And like they have these competitions now where it's, what is it? The one-on-one freestyle battles or whatever. It's like all styles battles. That's
All
what that
styles.
you do. You don't need to know the foundations of locking. You could do a couple of points in a lock and now you think you're locking, but it's a lot more to it than that. That's my opinion about that.
To be clear, the Valley guys were always criticized of trying to change something or change history. We didn't. We valued the foundation, and like I had said this many times, I think like people took Don's words out of context, like you can just do whatever you want to. No, to be clear, the lockers were very fundamental. A lock is a lock, and up and is up. They extended. They were, Tony Basil being implemented in the blockers because she was a professional dancer, made sure their spacing was good, made sure that they were clean and tight and their skits were together. If that didn't happen, if the lockers didn't do shows and they were solo dancers, the dance never would have became what it is. And I don't know if our generation would have been interested had we not seen those television shows and those variety shows and the routines and skits that they did. But
They're
share with
professionals.
us, Stu, you had pioneers in London that you had access to, and they, Kang, seemed to be doing the double time style.
That's
So
right.
share with us about that.
All of the generation that came before me in the UK were very much more of a Valley style of locking. So names like Jimmy Williams, Pat Cesar, and Kang was in a group called the Players. There was a whole like movement that before me of UK cats that were, very much doing that double time style, like the 80s, 90s style of locking. So when I met Richie, it was just very much the next step for me of really trying to like polish of what I'd already started in London. But the thing that I'm most interested in right now is the way that it seems that Asia has taken up the mantle and run with it. Richie, you've just come back from Asia, right? What's happening out there?
Oh my God. It's amazing. The different countries and again, the different styles. Like Korea has their own style.
Yes.
Hong Kong has a style. Japan has a style. China has a style. They are learning the foundations and the basics, and they're taking it to their level of how they prefer to do it. I trained the Funky Heroes. They're in Hong Kong. Baby L or Lydia from Hong Kong, a student of mine from way back, has her own dance studio, Funky Town Dance Studio in Hong Kong. If you're out there, go check her out. She teaches these kids, and just these kids pick it up. They absorb it like sponges, and it's just amazing. And there's such a love for locking all over Asia. And God, someone asked me, they go, well, what do you think about the Asian styles? I'm like, I love locking, period.
Yeah.
It's not that I have preferences. I'm allowed to have my preferences. I just love that everybody's locking and taking it to wherever they want to take it. I think that's amazing. The other countries definitely push it and love it. Sorry to say, more than America.
It's true. And we've been addressing it through me and Stewie's podcast. Because LA and probably do with a lot of Jackson videos, according to Gemini, is where the dance was exposed to all these countries. It was from music television. And, when I was a kid, locking was the only street dance in the robot. And I think it was the most popular. But our generation, picked it up, and the lockers really loved that. And then there was like a hope. And then we started getting the European and the Asian invasion, and they took the mantle and just kept on pushing hard. I love how the women in Russia lock. seems to be really effective, and they're doing great stuff. So there's some female lockers in Canada because of Scrabble. So a lot of offspring of Richie Stable have gone on to teach, and so, to his credit, he's been a big inspiration and push for the dance. But I agree with Richie. It seems like maybe the locking culture has got softer. I think sometimes we're missing some of that toughness to get people to do the dance with excellence. I don't know. Share with you. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think that that's maybe where an idea we can bring Vix in here, because right here in Ohio, I was kind of surprised to find out that so much of the funk music that we grew up loving is out of date in Ohio. So that's why forming Ohio Lockers with Vix and trying to spread the art here is so very important. Us is really pushing that real American funk. Like, would you say, Vix, brother?
Yeah, I agree. It's like, I see that the thing about Asia and especially Asia, but Europe too, and how they appreciate the street dance, because it's not just locking, it's breaking, it's popping too. You know what I mean? And it's everything else as well. Everything that comes from United States, after it fizzles out here, it goes over there and they take it to another level.
Yeah.
But my thing is, what can we do? What can we do to grow locking here in the United States? And we had the same problem with the up rocking, and I feel like we still have a smaller community, but it's gotten a lot stronger through my crew of BVDs, throwing anniversaries and just doing jams and events and outreaches and everything. And so it's like, how can we apply that to the locking, to spread the locking in here in the States? What can we do in the States? Instead of just like addressing the problem and just complaining about it, what can we do to grow locking in the States? Now, I have a couple things that I think would help. Number one is I think we need more crews. I think locking needs more crews, because all the other street dances are kind of like crew focused, and they like have this the crew creates competition. Oh, I want to be better than that crew. Let me practice so I can battle them, or let me practice so I want to be a part of their crew. Let me level up so I can be an elite locker and join that crew. Like, that's like my inspiration. So like, I think one of my theories is that that's why me and Stu, we started the Ohio Lockers. In Chicago, they have the Gridlock crew. They're like beginner to intermediate, and they have some OGs that they're learning from Chicago. So it's like we can have like a friendly rivalry, Ohio versus Chicago. And that way it's like something to practice for. I know Detroit got their lockers. And every state has their little core, amount of lockers, and we can all like kind of come together, and throw jams and like kind of like, have this friendly rivalry. And that's one way that, I think we can build the scene up.
Yeah. I think you're right in terms of that assessment, because my generation was the generation of crews. I mean, I can spout off, the Majestics,
Nice
Body Magic, Chain Reaction, LA City Rockers. Richie had a crew called Dance Connection. And I was like hungry trying to get it put on. When I went to the Ozone, there was like the Robot Masters. There was all kinds of crews, and it seems almost non-existent anymore. Everybody's a soloist. Everybody's doing their own thing. And I think that would definitely be a part of it. But when I look back at street dance in history, it's softened up, because the competition thing has always been gnarly. That doesn't need to go away.
Well, I wouldn't say it's non-existent. You said the crews are non-existent. There are crews out there, and there's more crews that's starting to pop up.
Crews in what, locking?
Yeah.
For LA, there's really not many.
No, I'm talking about in the United States.
Oh, yeah. I see little pockets of it, but I think we could definitely try to maybe help push that idea forward, because when I was young, Richie will tell you, just in one club, there was several crews. It was groups and people getting down together and practicing together, and in the garage or in the pool table room or something. Right, Richie?
Yeah.
People would be at your house.
Yes. Tons. I like the idea again with the crews. There's the hood lockers that I think they're in Philly.
Philly, yeah.
Well, there are different crews around.
That's right.
Scramblers have crews in Russia. They have crews. They have these different names, like they call them clans. There's
Okay.
Clan G, there's Clan J. So they're really doing that in Russia, and they're very competitive with each other, but they're very friendly with each other, and there's a lot of respect. I think
Yeah.
that's what became a problem in the United States. It's that it became very political, and people take
Yeah.
sides and they start talking and whatnot, and then people don't want to do it. They don't want to get involved in all of that. They're afraid. Then people talk shit and all this. So I'm just hoping that the respect comes back. Respect for people, respect for the dance, and that will help do that. And again, crews is always an easy way to make that happen. You have a crew of 10 guys show up at a club or at an event, and they open a circle. It's on and popping. It'll be great. So I love that idea. I love that idea.
Yeah. Because originally, like locking was, to my assessment, it was the first street dance, and then popping came and became very popular because it was aesthetic. So it pulled away from there. And then b-boy was an explosion. Like in terms of street dancing, just the popularity was so much that it kind of brought back popping and locking into, the whole umbrella term of hip hop culture. We're not actually part of hip hop, but when the b-boy and breaking craze happened, Richie found an opportunity to like, hey, let's bring it back. And that
definitely
was holding tough for a bit, right, Richie, with all the jams? Because I was going to retire probably after we got off tour on 2000. I was like, okay, I've kind of reached all my goals. And then the jam started happening, and Richie invited me to the summit. And here I am. Yeah. I'm 64 years old, and I'm still in, but I'm trying to figure ways to help out the locking community stay here in the United States.
I think the key that you really hitting on there is that it was the B-Boy Summit, just like the UK B-Boy Championships. That really was the hip hop, the B-Boy really that carried locking in my beginning in the art form. And I feel that the segregating up of the dances separate, locking over here, popping over here, breaking in the lead, it's really what hurt the dance, because being like sort of protected and carried by the locking. I remember the one thing that the B-Boys used to always have a stance was that locking choreography was like a power move to them. You know what I mean? That like lockers in unison locking what was like so very exciting and promoted by B-Boys. So I think that what Asia One is doing here and like bringing the locking to the forefront and in that hip hop B-Boy locking popping environment is so very important. So please, Richie, one more time, can you give us the dates and the House of Locking, a nice little sound bite?
Yeah, it's June 27th. It's at Lamart Park. That's what's the address here? 4396 Lamart Boulevard. That's LEIMERT Boulevard. It's LA 90008. But I'll put up the flyer so you can see. And talking about the B-Boys, even though B-Boying came in and an explosion and everything, believe it or not, it gave us the platform to bring back locking and popping. It was the explosion of B-Boying that gave us the opportunity to put locking and popping and expose that, which then started the love for locking and popping again. So, big ups to the hip hop community and the B-Boy community as well, and Asia and Cross. It was, if they gave us the platforms to do this, and that started the whole thing. So,
yeah, can I say something real quick? Talking about, what we can do to help grow locking here in the States. Like I mentioned, the crew aspect of it. But I also think events, throwing events, like what Asia's doing. Like Asia took the initiative. She's not a locker, but she saw a need. You know what I mean? And she's doing a labor of love, to help out the locking community, And I think that if other lockers around, other people, people in the scene, take the initiative and do what Asia's doing, try to throw events. This is my son in the background. Throw events and, people like you guys, who are involved and all across the country, if people can come together and and put together events like Asia's doing, even if it's paired with locking and popping, but we have a, focus on locking, or locking is included. That's a way to, bring people in, and also when teaching them, bringing people like Richie or Mr. Kleen to Ohio or Detroit or Chicago, and like teaching workshops and having events, along with having crews. I think those two things is really what's going to help us, take locking in the United States to the next level.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the plan.
It's going back to that labor of love. Richie has actually thrown a Funk Styles event. It was called On the One, and until you don't know until you really know of what a labor of love it is. A lot of people lose money on these events. They're very costly and time consuming. And so I've always been the beneficiary of people that throw events, so I can go enjoy and keep on dancing and not retire and have fun. But we have to big ups to people like Versastyle and Freestyle Session and B-Boy Summit. These people that create these things and go through the hard work to make them happen, because it's not easy. I think the new thing too is put these infrastructures in place where they get grants to fund these events, so that people can go and have fun, so they can reduce the risk of maybe losing a lot of money. But I'm not a promoter. It's not my thing. I'm glad that Asia has assembled, Bam Bam Anthony Thomas, who's like world-class leader in lock, and Flow Master, who's a world champion, and our teacher, Richie Rich, and Demita Joe's involved. So I'm very honest to stand next to these people. It's a real good lineup to educate, because there's different styles, there's different generations. I don't know, Richie, share your thoughts, and you can share about how difficult it is to throw an event on your own. You did it without funding, right?
Yes. It takes a lot, it's just, again, you got to get the finances, you have to promote it, you have to get the venue, the DJs, you have to get the crowds to come in. On the One was just based on funk style, so it was just locking and popping. We didn't have the B-Boy element for it. It did well, but like you said, it was a labor of love, but that labor of love beats you up financially, and it takes all your energy. I had my kids involved in everything, so I didn't have grants or anything. We put our own money in it and did it.
Wow.
It came out, for me, it was great. It's just, again, I don't have the free time like Asia and them to do these events, or the grants to do it. Otherwise, I would love to do it, but it really takes a lot to put it together. So much respect for all the people that do these events. I mean, it really takes a lot. So big ups to all of them for who do the events. Keep it going.
Flavor of the Year example, the Unite Culture Center. I think it's about talking, like I hope that you, Richie and Stewie, talk to Asia and talk about the grant, the infrastructure to reduce some of the risk in your guys' events for throwing. Because Vix, you've thrown events, so you can share with us along that whole line too. But it's about sharing game for the culture's sake, maybe, so that people don't have to lose their shirts, time and energy on these events. And
that's a great point, because who wants to do an event when you're putting so much time and energy into it and money, and you get little return back. I think that's the problem. I think that's why a lot of grassroots events have died out and fizzled out, and thus the dance kind of fizzling out. So I think what we need to do is not just teach locking and teach the technique of street dancing, but also teach how to get grants. There should be a workshop about how to get a street dance group to get how to teach them how to get a grant to raise money to throw their own events. You know what I mean? Because that's really what we need. Like in Canada, in Mexico, they're doing amazing things, and they have financial backing behind them. Almost every organization in North America that's doing, amazing work in events and in the community, they have financial, government assistance behind them. And there's people like us, and we don't know. We don't have the tools to say how do we make this a reality for us? How do we get the financial backing so that, like you said, it's not such a risk throwing our life on the line or our livelihood, just to make sure that locking exists. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's about sharing game for the community's sake, I think, is one of the things that we can do. And the other thing is, I've been in either 3 or 4 documentaries, and the first documentary I went was Richie didn't know how to do it. He just did it. It was called The Sacred Art of Locking. By the time he did the Valley Style documentary, he was better and more organized and like, wow, Richie, how'd you get professional here? It was because of the love. It wasn't about, oh God, this is overwhelming. He would just do it. You know, it's like when he approached Cross in Asia for getting the Funk Styles event going. It was just something that he would just do. And so I think if you have it in your heart to do something, what's the advice? Just like Nike, just do it, Richie. What? Because like you're in a position to. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to throw myself in the arena. Is that what happened?
Yeah, you know, if you love something, again, it was something I'm passionate about.
I think your mic is off. Your mic is off.
I can hear you guys.
Your mic is off, Rick.
I can't hear Richie. I can hear you, Kleen.
Oh.
No, my mic is on. Hold on. Huh. Check 1, 2. Press command.
There's a mic cross on Vic's thing.
All right. Yeah, I see the cross on his. Can you hear me now, Vic? Can you hear me?
Okay, it's off, Vic. You can hear us now, right?
Check 1, 2.
I can hear you. I can't hear Richie. I see his mic is unmuted, but I still can't hear him. I'm not sure why.
I would say that's
can you hear Richie, Kleen?
Yeah, I can hear Richie.
And I hear you.
I see your cross on your mic, Vic.
Your mic
is
cut off again.
Oh shoot!
Now your mic is on. Now your mic is on. But I know you can't hear me, so we'll do our best. Maybe because Stu's not here, maybe that has an effect.
He looks like he's coming back. We'll edit this part out.
There he is. Yeah.
So Vic can't hear Richie. Stewie, can you hear us?
Can you hear me, Stu?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry about that. My phone overheated. Yeah, I got you, fellas. Sorry, my phone overheated there. Silly me. But yeah, forgive me. I'm back. What are we talking about?
Vic can't hear me for some reason, but you guys can hear me. So that's
yeah.
Yeah,
I hear you fine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
the event things. Here's the thing, you know, if I love something so much, I'll put a lot of into it. That's what we were talking about, doing events. And Kenny asked me, you know, when I do the videos and stuff, you know, I wanted to put it out there. And, you know, I did. And I just took a chance and did it. The Valley Style, my wife did that. So that's why it came.
Lisa?
Lisa did that whole thing, not me. I can't edit anything. Lisa.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, just so you know, Lisa did the whole video, edited and everything. Music and everything. Lisa did the whole thing, not me.
It was kind of a family project because I remember seeing your kids filming and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We got everybody involved to do it. But overall, it was my wife that put it all together.
Yeah, to this day, I hear people, you know, sharing with me. Yeah, I saw that, man. Iggy, you know, from Kid Boogie's crew was telling about he saw the Valley Style. I remember Chain Reaction did it. And they said they spent like $250,000 on it, which is, I don't know if that's true, but with the resources Lisa had, I was really happy with that. And I thought that she did an incredible job. I was really proud of the work that they did on that. And it was a movement to bring awareness to the culture, to kind of educated people how our trajectory started and not to have any debates or word salads against locking. We weren't trying to do anything. You know, because even the lockers themselves, you had people like Scooby-Doo bringing in moves and Skeeter Rabbit Higgins bringing in moves. So collectively, when locking had to be called locking, the umbrella term, you know, there were other people that were involving collectively to turn it into an art form. Right, Richie?
Yeah. Like I said, you know, it was just a collaboration of me getting a whole bunch of people together and just showing where we come from, what we've done. And that's that. We weren't knocking anybody else. We were just giving our history. Yeah. Everybody's history is different. So I just put mine out there. And you know, people love it, great. If people don't, that's fine too. This is my life and my friends and the things that we've done with locking from the past to the present. That's all the video was meant to do. And introduce the way our style of locking.
Right. Right.
And I want to make that clear. The dance we do is locking. When we say Valley Style, it's just, again, a different style within the dance of locking.
Which means What does style mean? It means the manner you do it differently. So it's correct in terms of language skill. You know, people can, like I said, they can turn into these word salad debates. If they want to call it flavor, that's fine. You know, you're saying the same thing, but you're trying to have a debate. Nobody tried to change anything. But what we did do is we added to the Rolodex of movement and style that we did. So did the guys in Vegas. So did the guys in Orange County. Everybody was bringing stuff to the table. And there shouldn't be a debate about this. But, you know, there's always going to be people that want to put themselves into the debate. I don't know if it's for notoriety or recognition, but it's like we never tried to change anything. We just tried to add to it. And everything must evolve. Every dance style, every creation must continue to evolve. So I don't know how, I never understood how people try to make it into a bad thing or kind of attack us or debate what Richie did in terms of his trajectory of locking. It just never made sense to me. Right, Rich?
Yeah, again, people are going to have their opinions. That's fine. Like I said, if you don't like it, that's fine. If you do like it, that's fine too. Do what you do. But the dance is locking. If we all love it, what's the problem? We don't need the politics. We don't need the hate. If you don't like what I do, you don't have to do the things I do. That doesn't mean you come over and be friendly with me. You know, look, we could agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just, again, if you have a love, we have a common love for something, let's support each other. That doesn't mean I don't want you to battle each other and get heated and stuff like that. No, let's get down and do that. But afterwards, it's a hug. You know, when I battled somebody back in the day, I don't care who it is. You're not my friend. I'm there to just destroy. And then afterwards, love you, thank you, and great. Get the hugs and everything. Respect. That's all. Yeah. And that's what we need.
And Richie has walked the walk. He's had those hard-barred conversations, and he's had those battles. I was there, you know, when him and OG Skeeter Rabbit went at it, man. And it was civil, but that's like if you're gonna disagree, I think that's one of the coolest ways is to get it out on the dance floor. And Richie wasn't short on that. He would, okay, let's go, you know. And so I think that's the better way to resolve things. Am I right or wrong? Which one is it?
Go ahead, Vic.
So it seems to me like, Richie, that, you know, you always, it's not always, but like, you know, you constantly have to kind of like defend your position. Like, you know, you're always repeating your stance on, you know, the Valley style, explaining what the Valley style is, what it means, and this and that. What is the issue? Like, what is the viewpoint from that you've experienced from other people that, you know, makes you feel like you have to explain yourself? Like, do people do people think that, you know, you're creating a new dance or something, or why is this controversial?
I think the controversy came from, again, I'll just say it overall in general, that, you know, the locking is from the Black culture created by Don Campbell, a Black man. And then when you have a white kid who's doing it and maybe changing things or adding things to it, a lot of people in that culture don't appreciate that. I mean, I've been called a cultural appropriator.
Yeah.
You know, I don't lock for profit. I have a career. I lock because I love it. I'm not out there advertising myself and promoting myself. Yeah, hire me. I do what I do. Locking is not my career. It's my love. And if people don't appreciate, that's fine. Like I said, but people say that, you know, we took locking and the Valley style is making it something different. No, I am a locker. I am not a dancer. I'm not a popper. I'm not a b-boy. I'm not a whacker. None of that stuff. I don't even consider myself a dancer. I am a locker. That is the specific dance I do. If you appreciate that, great. If you don't, that's great too. The Valley is I created sequences of moves that the originals didn't do. And I wasn't stealing the dance. I was adding to the dance,
right?
You know, to evolve. And again, the double time style wasn't my creation. Like I said, Fluky used to double time, Rerun would double time.
Yeah.
It wasn't their main emphasis. It was our main emphasis, and we took that. And like I said, when I go to Asia and train with people, they freak out because of the timing and the musicality we have double time is not just throwing your arms out. There's a purpose and a reason for the moves that we do. And people don't understand that fact. But when I go and train them, let me show you. I think I have a picture of the kids. This was the class.
So there's kids double time. There's kids valley style in Asia now.
Oh yeah, well they do it, but I mean this is the class that I just had. That was one of the classes in Hong Kong. I had another class that size in Taipei in Taiwan. And they have in Taiwan they have a huge crew called the IP Lockers. Oh my God, these guys are amazing, and they're everywhere. Everybody knows who they are. They have their own community.
Yeah.
So where's the love? Let's keep the love. Don't
worry about. To go back a little bit. The big word, like Richie was saying, that's thrown around now, and not just for locking, other styles, is gentrification. That's a big issue right now with even crunking and other styles and stuff like that. And so we're probably the real issue, because to be clear, and I'm gonna say this, most people around the world don't do camel locking. They do valley style because most of the people got introduced was MTV, and with Janet Jackson, like the people that used to dominate in the early 80s was the people that worked with Michael, and Michael was such a big artist, it was like they saw popping. Then in late 80s, early 90s with Janet, they saw locking, they saw the Alley City Rockers, who are Richie's students, and so that's how the dance spread out through the world. And then you see a couple white dudes in the mix, and with Renee and Terry and Chain Reaction was on music, television, video, and then the word gentrification is like they're trying to steal our dance, they're trying to change it. That was never the case. That was never the intention. It was just people trying to add to the repertoire of, or just broaden it, And so I think that is something that I didn't really think about, Rich brought up, that brought maybe some of the division in it, because people think that people are trying to gentrify it or steal from the culture or become culture vultures. And that was never the intent of the people that I came up with. Right, Richie?
That is true. And Vic, to go back what you said, that was a big issue. It wasn't, like I said, when I called it the Valley style, there's a reason for that. It's like I said, the original I didn't lock like the original lockers. I did their moves. I understood all their basics. When we would go to LA, that's where the name came from. People would go, those are the guys from the Valley. That's what they used to say to us. So hence Valley style.
They kind of named us, if you think about it.
Yeah, it wasn't me that named it. That's what people refer to
those guys us from the Valley.
Well, I want to step in real quick, and I want to give some pushback, a little bit of pushback to what Mr. Kleen was saying, because I'm a newbie. You know what I'm saying? I've been locking for like around a year. I've always been a fan of it, but it wasn't until I met Stu that I really started to dive in and train it. But I can only speak on what I see, and one of the things that really attracts me to the Valley style is I really don't see anybody doing it. Like, I see a lot of lockers from around the world. They have the lockers outfits. They have the hats and the suspenders and the stripes and stuff. And they're doing their soul moves, and they're trying to be like real funky.
Yeah.
Which is great and it's cool, but I don't see the other side of that. When I watch old footage of Richie and LA City Rockers and Chain Reaction and that like real raw, like aggressive, like battle style,
Panda.
the dress and the clothes and just the whole overall style of it. I don't see that. And that's one of the things that I love about it is that when I want to dance locking, I want to look different. And I don't want to look like everybody else. I love the original lockers and stuff like that. And I feel like if the music is right, if it's like that 70s, that early 70s, like that soul funk, James Brown and all that, like that really brings out that Camelot style out of me. But when I hear like some like Janet Jackson or some like some like boogie funk type stuff, like that really brings out like the Richie or the cool pockets, like type of like inspiration that I have, you know what I mean? So so like I think that a lot of technique, like I think in terms of technique, locking technique, yes, it's you know, it's leveled up, you know, throughout the years and over in Asia and everything. They have great technique, but as far as like the actual moves of the Valley style that I'm learning from Richie, I don't see a whole lot of that, and I don't see the overall style of it.
Well, here's I'm going to push back on your pushback, and this is why I'm saying this. If we're talking
And
technically,
here we go.
Here's the thing: most people don't Campbell lock. They really don't. Up is an up, a lock is a lock. Uncle Sam points are Uncle Sam points. The Valley guys never deeded for it, but they added to it. The tempo that people are dancing is they're actually dancing too fast. It's just move, 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 move. What you don't see is control of the double time, which the LA City Rockers, Dance Connection, Chain Reaction had. When they double time, they look effortless. And the problem is, and you know, a problem with locking is that people's foundations aren't strong. So if your foundation is not strong, you're going to have massive problems with the Valley style. Because like we've been through this before, when we see people muscling points or bleeding moves. Richie, you can't get past them. You can't fake the funk with somebody like Bam Bam and those guys. So if a lot of people don't go back and watch the lockers, is like me and Anthony, when we started our group, the MBs, we got to a point where we could break down what Rerun had a lot of bounce to his dance. The double time came from Shab and Fluky Luke because they used to do a lot of duets together. And so that's where the ANCAL came in. And most people in the world lock faster than the ANCAL. And so sometimes people have gotten upset with Richie because they're just locking fast. And Richie would go in the contest and start going, you're off beat. And that happens with Chain Reaction and Richie and the Rockers. Their technique is flawless. That's the difference. Their extension is way extended. You know, so are people doing as much sustainment as Don and Greg did? No, they're not doing that, dancing from the middle like Fred Berry and stopping. You know, there's like Dazzle, maybe there's other people, but most people are doing double time because of the music television. That's how they got introduced to it. And so that's where people say, oh, they're trying to change the dance. They didn't. It's just music television when the Janet Jackson videos introduced the world to locking, because even when we were young, we didn't have access to the lockers. So that's why I went to the Ozone and started learning from Richie and them. So that was the first thing that I saw. After we got better, you know, the lockers started coming around with Shab and Fred and Greg in the 80s, and then Don didn't come around in the 90s. They said, we love what you guys do. Shabadoo used to call us clone lockers because our routines were so clean and tight. You know, we were together and our spacing was good. And so when you break down Fred had that bounce. Don and Greg had sustainment and power, and Fluky probably influenced Body Magic and Chain Reaction with the double time. But if you go around the world and you look at video and YouTube, most people are doing double time. They're not really doing the Campbell lock. You know, I can look at Russia like Vovan, fast, kill off, fast. You know, there's not a lot of people. They say Campbell locking, but Campbell locking bleeds a lot more than the Valley style because there's so much information coming on you. If your foundation's not together, you're gonna struggle. So, do you see people struggling? Yeah. Do you see people that have control with the double time? Not really, because it's really hard. That's why it's important to assemble teams like we did for the House of Lock-In to get people to understand it. If you do a chicken wing, he sees it. When Naco Flex and Brian came, Richie was like, you're a little behind, you're a little like, and Brian was like probably cushing in his language, and he was like pointing at me, and Richie was like, no, the old man had it. I'm like, Richie, like, just to be clear, he's my age, you know, but you can't get past these techniques, these fundamental moves. You know, there's things that people do, like they slow down so they can get bat in the pocket, or they do a big air game so they can restructure their move. Share with me your thoughts on this, Richie. It doesn't get past people like Bam Bam, Richie, or Jackson.
Vix, you had something, Vix?
Well, I was just going to say that, you know, what you said is exactly my point, is that, you know, when you see the people doing the doubles time, they get lost in the sauce.
Yes.
So and so that's basically saying that you don't see the valley style then, because people are not doing it correctly. And
you
so
see double time.
and the other thing too is that just the double time alone, to me, and Richie can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, just the double time alone doesn't equate to valley style, because there's moves that are associated with the valley style that Richie created and others, that are also
And the flavor as well.
associated. Yeah, and a flavor to it, because the original lockers did do double time, but they just didn't have the emphasis on it that the valley did. Like maybe they had more of a focus on it, but they did do it. Like you said,
they did it.
And all those guys did it. So I wouldn't say that double time equally equates to valley style.
No.
But you could correct me if I'm wrong, Richie.
No, and like you said, that was my preference at the time. Again, we spoke about the music, and you love the music of the 80s. The music of the 80s was electro and very fast. I mean, you're talking 126 beats per minute to 140 beats per minute. So, yeah, you can go slow, but when we did routines, the double time was so much more effective to play, the way I describe, having funk and soul and groove or whatnot, is your body becomes the instrument that plays the music. So if the music's going fast, sure, we want a double time in that to emphasize the music. And then also, you don't want to double time 8/8 counts.
Yeah.
It's like talking really fast and no one knows the language and you're talking really fast and I hope you have to emphasize the moves. Like, when I demonstrate sometimes where I follow the bass line in a double time sequence, and then I stop, and then people are like, wow, he followed that rhythm. There's the purpose of it. I'm playing using my body to play that rhythm. People don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't just focus on a beat. I focus on the rhythms of the music. A lot of people focus on the beat.
When you train with us in his garage, you see this all the time, and he's playing different speeds of music too. He'll do a slow tongue. He really wants you to comprehend that. Are people doing the valley style or the LSD rocker style right? No, but that's the attempt, because that's what people were mostly introduced to. And that's where people are saying they're genderifying it. No, it was just, like I said, it's the hardest style to learn because there's so much information. And it's to the point where people are trying to lock too fast around the world.
It's the elite,
yeah. And again, like I said, some people like it, some people don't, and that's fine. In the Asian countries, if I look at Korea, Korea likes to lock very strong, and they really like to emphasize they lock, boom, pow, pow. They really, the thing is, for me, again, this is their preference. For me, if you're just locking technically, you're not really dancing. The example I always teach everybody is, if you take Taekwondo, it's very technical, the way you move. But when people fight for real on the street, you do not fight like that. Yeah. You incorporate you understand what the movement is for, then you incorporate it the way you move. It's the same thing with the valley style. You see, I'll teach you the technique, I'll teach you how to move in it, and then you put them together. And that's one thing I've been saying since I'm young. The technique and the groove together.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to do that at a high speed.
Yeah.
Very hard to see that at high speed. So again, it's different. Yeah. It's just different. What's your preference?
It is.
When I'm in Asian teaching, they love the valley style, the moves that I teach them. They love the way I explain it. And the kids love it too. Preference.
The and count and the double time. Yeah, are they trying to do the valley style? Yeah, I don't know many countries that actually try to do. Let's try to think of it, the camel lock style, because everybody says, some people want to say it's all camel locking, but most people don't camel lock. I mean, like, I know Dazo in Asia tries to camel lock. Maybe some of the Switzerland guys, because of Dave Johnson, who's from the Valley. Arvido's gets a little bit of camel locking, but most people don't really camel lock. If you look at the style and its essence and the groove in between their runs and it breathes more, most people around the world were introduced to locking by seeing the Janet Jackson videos, from my understanding. And so these young kids, they didn't grow up with Soul Train like we did. And so I didn't really get introduced to the camel lock style I got introduced by Soul Train, but I didn't know I was fake locking and popping at that time. And then Greg Campbell Jr. did a class and he gave me a VHS. And it wasn't until, you know, the late 90s that me and Anthony started implementing that to our solos. But we always kept the Valo style for the combination and the routines, because to me, that was the best style for that, man. As a unit, as a crew, it was the era crews. Everybody, it made them prolific, because if you're doing television work, the camera doesn't lie, so you need to be clean and tight. And if you're a little bit off, Richie Rich is there to make sure that you ain't, and he'll hold you accountable to the 5th degree.
Let me push back on this too, because that a question came up in Asia about that. You know, what do we call it, camber locking or locking? And I understand both arguments for calling it what you want. I don't care what you call it. Locking is locking. For me, to respect Don is the only one who was camber locking. The other lockers did not lock like him. They created their own style and preference of the moves. So for me, we are all lockers. Don, out of respect, is the only camber locker. No one locks like Don. And Kenny mentioned Dazo, and he specifically trains and locks to look identically like Don.
There's not many people. Greg was called Campbell Jr. because he would try to lock like Don, and started teaching the Campbell style. But for the most part, I don't know. Like it's like Richie said, there's not a lot of really people that really lock like Don, you know. And so the umbrella term, whatever you can debate about Campbell locking, the umbrella term is locking, and it's here to stay. Electric boogaloo popping. Popping wasn't the first thing that we heard. We heard strutting. We heard boogaloo. The umbrella term is popping. So whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. If you're going to describe the dances in the totality for the funk style, you have locking and popping, whether we like it or not, you know.
Well, from my experience, when I started, I've always known about locking, because of Soul Train and the Lockers. I never heard of LA City Rockers. I never heard of Chain Reaction. I never heard of them. And I've been in the street dance, you know, community since 1997. You know, it wasn't until last year, you know, where I talked to Richie, and he's like, "You never heard of LA City Rockers?" Da da da. You know, I've heard of Jazzy J, you know, because of Electric Boogaloo. Yeah. You know, I didn't even know he was a locker. I didn't know he locked. You know what I mean? So it's like, once I went down that rabbit hole and started to do my history and find out, like, this was a whole style. You know what I mean? It's like, well, my mind was blown, because I had never seen it before. I never even heard of it. You know,
yeah, but the world did. You know, after, like I said, I didn't have access to the lockers, so I had to go to the Valley to actually learn it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it was like I said, it's having access. You know, where you're from, where you're at in the world. You know, it took you to this time to get it to it. So people, you know, Shabadoo argued with me for a while, like, why are you going to learn from them white boys and this and that? First of all, they're not white. I think Chain Reaction, who kind of inspired us, they didn't teach us. Richie taught us, but they inspired us to go to the Valley, is because of those clean and tight routines. And we didn't have when I was a kid, the Lockers were traveling all over the world. I think they did like almost 100 shows. So me and Anthony found out about the Ozone, and that's where we learned at first, which was, you know, great. But, you know, it's people are gonna go get loved where they're shown love. You know what I mean? And Richie was one of those guys who was happy to teach, you know, and get my extension going and get my cleansiness. My name is Kleen not because I'm bald headed. My name is Kleen because my points are clean, because I was so sloppy. Richie can tell you, know, like.
Yeah,
and that's not.
And love is really what it's all about, right? I think that the most important thing really is that we love all of locking. There has certainly been a sentiment of anti-Valley style. I remember, like, when I came back from Richie, was it 2002? Me and Sandrine, we competed in Juste Debout, and the reason that we didn't get through to the battle is because we looked too much like Chain Reaction. We looked too much like Richie Valley style. So that was like the sentiment, at least at that time, was that if you're into Valley style, then you're against locking. And it's like, well, you guys might think that, but I never hear anything like that from Richie or any of the Valley guys. that really it's like I see Valley style as almost like a more of a generational thing rather than a regional thing. That is chronological. It's more 80s.
Yeah.
It's and if anyone is representing the Valley style today, that it's more to do with like a totality of locking and like, you know, really locking excellence, and that's really what we are about.
They became prolific. They became professional dancers. So when people started going on the internet, you know, that's what they saw with the popular videos. Like I said, people in the early 80s that worked with Michael Jackson, that was going to be exposed to the world. When Janet in the late 80s, early 90s, that's what was, you know, thrown onto the world. You know, that's how, am I correct? Jem and I found out about locking through the LA City Rockers, Richie.
Yeah, the Janet Jackson video was the thing. Those videos were the thing. He heard the word locking, but when he saw those videos, that really inspired him to get into locking.
Right. And then they see, you know, music videos, and then they seen us on YouTube eventually, and then more so. And it's like, you know, when I saw the Majestics, very acrobatic, I was like, oh my God, they weren't doing Kabalock style. They had a whole different thing. I don't even know what to. Do you remember who I'm talking about? The two guys that were very like they did flips.
They popped as well, but they locked very quick.
Was it Captain Crunch?
Say again.
Was it Captain Crunch?
No, the Majestics were a different group. Captain Crunch,
yeah,
a different group as well. They locked very fast and put a lot of acrobatics in it. It didn't look like the original style of locking. It didn't look. They had their own way of doing it. I want to go back to what Stewie said, because this is really important. This is about the love of the dance, period. It's all about the love of the dance. I don't care your political views. I don't care what your preferences are. If you love locking, then we're all together in a community. When you do start to separate and go, I don't like the way he does it, he's this, that's where the problem comes. And seriously, in Asia, they don't have that stuff. Kids, you saw that picture I just showed. There's probably 40 kids there that love it, and they come because they really want to learn it, and they love the dance. And if we can just create this community, and I think that was Vic put that in my head, that community, that we really need this community, and that's what I'm hoping to find again, and that's what I'm hoping this House of Locking brings back. That we want to have community. We want kids to come and learn. We want people to enjoy the dance and do it, see it, love it, and take it for wherever they're going to take it. That's the best that we can do.
Yeah. Nobody was trying to change anything, just to be clear. And I forgot what my point was, but yeah, the division is, it's like these word salads. People are saying the same thing, but debating is like, enough with that. Let's just, to be fair, to be totally fair, the reason why these dances evolve is because music changed at that time. The locking came from soul music, and then you had funk music, which was really the bulk of our era when we were just starting to lose. So when the tempo and the music changed, the dance is going to evolve with that. There's nothing you could do about it. The Majestics dance different from the Lockers. You know, there was some subtle difference in Las Vegas, and with us the same as well. So when music changes, dance evolves with it. Am I right or wrong, Rich?
Yeah, I think, you know, you mentioned Vegas. I think Vegas's main emphasis was on entertainment, because all the people in Vegas wanted to do the shows and be at the hotels and be in that. So they really focused on the show aspect. I can't remember the name of the group that went on Star Search.
Props with the mean chucks and all that stuff.
The Foot Lockers.
The Untouchables. Untouchables?
No, these guys were the Foot Lockers in Vegas, and they went on Star Search, and they brought out nunchucks and bow staffs and stuff. They were really going for the entertainment part, because they wanted to be in these Vegas shows. So their emphasis was on that. You see, our emphasis was on battling. The Lockers' emphasis was on, you know, just being themselves and being free and winning dance contests. Each generation had its different aspect of locking. We're still lockers, all of us, whether you do entertainment, whether you want to battle, whether you just want to groove and be funky in a nightclub. That's great. Community. Let's just get that community back. Now, we don't have to, we can battle each other, and we don't even have to like each other. We do have one common thing, the dance, the love of locking. Let's just pick that up and make it happen. Nothing else.
Yeah. And
so June 27th, we're
good
going to
sound.
all be meeting at the House of Locking in Los Angeles. Fellas, is there any other events this year that we want to promote? Any other dates or jams? Like Kenny, you were saying that like on the Monday there's a practice.
Yeah, there's a practice for those who are going to be traveling. There's a practice at Hayes House in San Fernando, and then we always have the Unite Culture Center in Woodland Hills, like Canoga Park area. So if people are in town and they're going to linger a little bit, then hopefully those are two like funk and soul events that people can come and practice.
And besides the events, Stu, I still have my garage. Anybody's in town, come on over. You can practice with me, and I don't mind. And it's at my house in my little dance studio, so everybody's welcome to come as well, just so you know.
We'll be there. We'll be there. And also, me and Stu are working on something for next year, looking at Land of Funk, which is something we started this year. So hopefully, we can organize and get some funding together and get something going on here in Ohio too.
Yeah, big ups. Talk to Asia and get that infrastructure in place. Get some grants to help you guys out. I think, like going back to that, is the community. We need to start sharing game. I know that Wild 7 in San Diego is starting to get that infrastructure, and so that people can put out these events and maybe make the situation more pleasant. But it didn't happen without people like Asia and Cross and Richie for just doing it. You know what I mean? So we got our pioneers now. It's time for people to start sharing how to make these things happen so that we can grow as a community. Stewie,
and just so you know,
that's the plan, man.
The Great 1-8ers is a community. And by the way, they're in the Valley. The Great 1-8ers are the Valley. So when you see Flavor of the Year and stuff, these are events that are thrown in the Valley where I am from. These kids that are coming up now, I'm a lot older than them, but here they are making a whole community. They have cultural centers and everything, so it can be done. They're doing their events with cultural support and political support and everything, and sponsorship. So these are the things that they're doing, and they keep growing. And they are.
Shout out to Rocksmith and Devious.
Yeah,
they sold their parents' house to get that facility to bring all these events. And I was there last night. I was at Flavor of the Month promoting House of Locking. But they showed their parents' house to start this community and build on it. And when I talked to them after the jams, I was like, yeah, we were the original Valley guys, from the Ozone. And they've carried on, and they have some famous dancers that dance from all over the world.
And, they call the Great 1-8s, and that's because the area code in the Valley is 818.
818.
That's where that comes from, just so everybody knows.
Anything else,
well, guys? Yeah, we're looking to wrap it up. So, we'll be out there June 27th, most definitely. And can I hand the last words to Richie?
There it is.
House of Locking, June 27th, Los Angeles. We're all meeting up. A lock-in, pop-in, break-in, funk dance event.
And shout out to all the people that travel from anywhere else or abroad, man. We really appreciate it. It's going to help things out. They've assembled a good team, and I'll see you guys there, man.
I mean, I'm praying that we can do this on a yearly, that we can make this an annual thing. That's what we need.
Asia wants to do, and she wants to expand it and make it competitive and things like that as well too. Maybe even have crew battles, like Vic is talking about, where it's not just solo or 2-on-2, it's crew against crew, which would be amazing.
It's got to start somewhere.
Yes, and here we go.
All right, fellas. So we are good. Thank you so much. Anyone who's watching this afterwards, much appreciated. And we're all in it together. As I like to say, it's one lock. There is only one lock, and we're all in this together. And yeah, I can't wait to lock with all of you brothers.
All right, see you in LA.
See you into 27th. Peace.
See you soon. Come through.
Thank you, fellas.
Later.
We're off.